The Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper. And now, Coach Bill Clark.
Welcome in the Coach Bill Clark Show. Pat, Coach, Landrum, Molly, brought to you by Buffalo Rock Dr. Pepper. It is officially the off-season, Coach. Now, was this the time of the year in which you would take a deep breath and actually get to see family members again?
Yep, for just a brief second, yes.
Well, one thing's for sure. It was an exciting football season. It was crowned a couple of weeks ago. But just take us through, like, right now, I guess the mindset of the coach. You've gone through a heck of a long season from recruiting, summer workouts, and so forth. Tell us what the calendar would look like back when Bill Clark was at UAB.
Yeah, and of course, we've got all the things that are going on now with the change in recruiting. So let's just take you kind of as your mind starts getting ready. Did you play in a bowl game or not? You know, we were blessed to play in one every year there, you know, at the end. So you're getting to practice. You're getting to practice those young guys. Your mind never leaves recruiting. Your mind never leaves recruiting. Of course, now you're recruiting your own players nonstop. So we've all, you know, that's been talked about. But really, you're getting ready for a great off season along with recruiting. Do you have any staff turnover? And that's always such a big worry. And sometimes you don't know that. You know, am I losing a guy? Am I keeping a guy? You know, of course, we were year-to-year contracts, which was not very smart. But, you know, even with that, people get bought out, et cetera. So you got recruiting. Who am I retaining? What does the staff look like? Am I making changes? So now I'm studying myself. Do we need to start making changes? Because we got spring coming up before we know it. Getting ready, of course, this was such a big deal for me, the all-season training, which I love so much. We always thought we made such a big difference. We're getting ready to do that, along with these new players' spring training calendar. So not 110 hours, but still probably 80.
You know, something that was referenced, and it was Nick Saban, he had so much turnover in his staff, especially in some of the later years, and especially on the defensive side of the ball, because that was his baby coach. You think about not only bringing a guy in that you trust, and he's got a good resume, and he's well thought of, and you've vetted him, but not only learning your system, but learning to teach it the way that you want it to be taught. How much time is involved? Because you've dealt with that with turnover on your staff. Maybe to not that degree, but you've had it happen.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, so you're really trying to get ready. And that's where the spring is so important, because you want it to be as physical as you can make it and still not get people hurt, because this is where you got real football. Of course, you know, real coaches, that's what they love. They love the training. They love spring, so you're getting ready. Of course, I didn't go the very, very late spring. Some people do. I tried to have it a little bit earlier, not the first thing, because when you have turnover, the more of those guys you could keep. And that was one of the big things for me, trying to keep that staff intact as much as possible. Now, when you got enough money, you can go get superstars, you know, and that's a guy like that. And a lot of these SEC guys can go get the best of the best, but you're still trying to get them in your system. And I think that's where you have this, what does your model look like? You know, what do you want to be known for? But it is great to bring in new ideas. And I always love to say, okay, give me these new ideas that we can integrate into what we're doing. But the training and how we worked, and every coach being involved in the weight room, which I always thought set us apart, was everybody being involved. Our Friday morning going to the stadium, running the stadium steps. I think people are starting to figure that out more, but because that was something that always set us apart.
I'm gonna go back to something you were talking about just now about the personnel, because I'm fascinated about the logistics, especially of you being the head coach of a big-time program. So let's say that you have a coach that is on a one-year contract. At that point in time, is he or his representation, is he dealing with you, or is there a football ops guy that handles that, and then that is taken to the athletic director? Like, what is take us through that process.
Yeah, for me, it was always me. You know, I didn't want somebody else handling that.
So, you had a budget, you had a number, and then if a coach was Landrum's on a one-year deal,
right,
as a special teams coach. By the way, you did a great job this year.
Thank you.
And you decide, okay, I'm going to bring him back, but you want to give him a bump.
Yeah.
But you've got a budget, and depending on that budget, depends on whether he gets that bump or if he is being eyed by another school.
Right.
You're the one that's doing the negotiating.
Well, I tell you, and this is great for people to hear. I talk to guys that have chief of staffs that handled that for them. And I'm talking about big-time programs.
You're talking about like an assistant coach.
Yeah, like an SEC with a chief of staff guy. And this is prior to NIL. This is not.
So the head coach has the chief of staff that handles that.
And this guy's handling it. You know, and that's when I say people are lucky. You know, and people may not take that the right way, but I'm like, if the head coach does not understand every facet of his what's going on with his staff. Now, granted, some people have those kind of agents, the Jimmy Sextons of the world that know what the market is. And so they're helping you use that market to get raises for your guys, which I think is great. But I think understanding what does the market look like within your conference? What should that look like? And if you got the right athletic director, he understands we got to keep up with the Joneses. What I had to use was love and winning and how I treated you and those things, because my guys, because we were winning, were constantly getting hit up. Are we up there? And that's what we always talked about trying. Of course, I pushed it, and we always seem to get it. But you have to find a way to keep up with the Joneses. And then sometimes they want this guy so bad, you're going to lose him, and that's where you got to be ready.
So if you're limited on your budget, guy deserves bump.
Yeah.
But the money's nowhere to be had. Do you get creative with incentivizing your coach, whether it's a title?
Yes.
Go through some of that.
Yeah, I think that's, and I can even go back to high school where you try to give guys titles that really they earned. And that's why I say everybody is so involved. If they're training, if they're involved in all the facets of the special teams or whatever that is, assistant head coach for offense. These are titles that are important. These guys, they may help them get other jobs. But you also winning and camaraderie and somewhere, what's the difference between winning and the money? But, we were always trying to say, look, we've got to do something for everybody. And sometimes I had to make a decision, was it me or the staff? And, you end up choosing the staff, you just have to. So I think when those guys saw, hey, maybe we're not getting what we could go get out here, but coach got us something, and trying to get everybody in that building something as much as possible. I used to talk about numbers. I used to laugh. Well, you've got all these numbers. I said, do you understand we have 125 guys? It's still about the bottom line number of money you've got. Let's say I've got $2 million. Well, if I cut it up and divide it through more guys, they make less money, but we needed those numbers to keep up with the guys above us that understood that you needed analysts and all the above.
In regards to your football budget, let's just take UAB, for instance. Did you know every year was there, okay, I'm going to get a 3% increase in my budget, or I've got to go fight to keep the budget that I currently have, or, oh, no, it's going to be cut? Just take us through that. Was that something towards the end of your tenure at UAB that was something that you had to battle with each and every year?
Yeah, it was a constant battle, and it was more so on the fact that we weren't keeping up with the times, I didn't feel like, and granted.
With the other programs in your conference.
Yeah, people were starting to copy us.
Right.
And starting to go above us in different ways. And it's not just what you pay the head coach or what you pay the assistants, it's what your nutrition looks like. Now, from a Conference USA standpoint, we were sitting in about the middle. As the American was coming and rolling around, you knew, and so I said, let's not do this if we can't compete. If we can't at least get to the middle, because here's what people don't understand. What we were able to do at UAB was we fundraised all the facility. The whole facility was fundraised. So that was not money that had to come out like any other school,
So none of that came from the Board of Trustees?
Zero.
None of that came from the University of Alabama,
Not
Birmingham?
$1.
Our facilities, and now there was an arms race.
Yeah.
And it was either we got a nap room, we got a slide, we got a
Right.
barbershop, we got a recording studio, all of that. Now it seems like maybe NIL has kind of cut into some of that, where guys are prioritizing ultimately how much am I going to get paid, as opposed to, hey, we got a Ferris wheel.
Well, what happened? And you'd say most of those guys had figured out this is what the minimum facility looks like. And you go look at the top; they've all got good facilities. They've got indoors. They've got. I think what's happening now is they've said, do we go and make another upgrade, or do we just kind of keep what we've got, which is still unbelievably nice. And I think once the big deal for us at UAB, once we got that facility and we were able to do the stadium that really was a community project, I felt like there was going to be more chances to take money and redirect it to other places. But you still want your school to say, man, this commitment to this program is so important, because we're going to raise money at these games for the business school, for the engineering school. You go look at when these people give money, it's when they're happy, when they're excited. For us, it was not necessarily getting on campus, but it was coming to the game. So it becomes such a fundraiser. As we know, when people feel good, it's like when a high school principal or superintendent calls me and says, what do I do? I said, you invest in your program.
Yeah.
You invest in your program because that makes everybody feel good. It makes the year go better, and you'll get money and facilities and whatever else because people feel good.
We've known you for a long time. We were there right in the middle of the conversations between Conference USA and the American. If you would, kind of for our listening audience here on the Bill Clark Show, take us back to maybe a couple of those initial conversations of the flirtation. Mike Oresco, who was the commissioner of the American Conference, and take us how UAB got on that list and officially got into the conference.
Well, there was around those times, around the 2020, of course, that was COVID, but as we started going, there was all this movement, and we wanted to get where there was more TV. That was the only thing. Conference USA treated us great. At that time, it was,
there was just no television contract.
Just no
money.
television contract. No money in the television. We knew the American. You had Cincinnati. You had Houston. I mean, they were doing great. They were all probably around the $70 million. I mean, I did deep dives into all these programs. All those programs were around the $65 to $70 million athletic department budget, with football, getting a fair share, with less sports than we had at UAB. So that was kind of the going, what it looked like. We came out pretty early as the one team they wanted. We were the number one team. This is straight from Oresco. Now, what happened when they tried to pull in a few of those Mountain West schools, they didn't go. But they were asking us, are you interested in this? And my whole point to the powers that be was, look, we're sitting at a $35 million athletic budget. The middle programs are all sitting at 55. I mean, there's FCS schools with a $45 million budget. We've got to raise our budget if we're going to match, at least get in the conversation with what these other schools are doing. Let's not do it if we're not going to commit. Of course, we were given the word that they were going to match that as I was kind of heading out. Mike Oresco comes in and goes, Coach, you were the next Cincinnati.
Wow.
What was I going to say, Mike? We've got half the budget that those guys got. But there's things that can get better. I thought it was the right thing to do, and we need to do it. What happened, we had all these other schools piggyback on us. The San Antonios, the Rices, the
North Texas.
The North Texas. And we were and it's straight from Mike Oresco, and you could ask him.
Nutrition centers, stuff like that. For the folks that don't understand, you value obviously the importance of those things, but for those who don't know, is that more just about wins and losses? Is that about attracting a certain type of coach, a certain level of coach, a certain level of player? Why is it so important and vital to basically the long-term success, in your opinion, of a program?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, we could have a whole show on nutrition. Of course, I'm an old strength and speed guy and track coach from way back. We were literally down, y'all have heard me tell the joke, with crock pots.
Yeah.
We were down there finding ways to feed our guys. When you're next, the way to get food is across campus, and you can't even hardly find parking without getting a ticket. That's why the access to food, and you think about feeding these guys who are burning all these calories just from a safety and a nutrition standpoint, you just got that part of it. You're just trying to optimize them. When they can look and there's somebody feeding them all day, every day in a calf that feeds all the athletes, who you going to choose? And I would have guys say, man, Coach, we came from this other school. We got them for different reasons. Maybe they had to go to JUCO, but because they knew we loved them and took care of them, because there's also that factor of if you just really care about me, you want to feed me and take care of me and clothe me and all those things. So it's the functionality of being a great athlete. It's the safety of taking care of them with all the calories there's burning. And then there was the recruiting part of just first class, doing things the right way. And these guys all have a dream to keep playing. So they've got to be optimized, get bigger, faster, stronger to be the best players they can be. So that was something I was fighting. There was so many different ways I was trying to fundraise for it. We had a school of nutrition. That's one of the biggest regrets I have, that I was not able to get that done at UAB.
And you were so unique, Coach, because you cut your teeth at the high school level, and you were successful there in winning championships and building a great program, and what you built at Prattville. But I don't think people understand, for maybe it was like that when you got to Prattville with a lack of support, but what some of these high school coaches are up against. And you've got churches that are boxing up meals.
Yeah.
And it's not just about an after practice meal. They're doing it because it might be the only meal that kid eats that day.
Well, so I grew up in it. Dad was a coach, small school coach. Players would come by the house and eat. We didn't have a lot. But we'd have kids walk by our house on their way to the school, walking to the school, back in the day, and they'd stop by and eat. So, why did you get into this? I used to talk to my guys in college. Why did you get into coaching? Do you really love these kids? And I say this all the time, loving them is accountability. I said that today in a tweet. You know, I care enough about you to want this 30-year-old self of you to be successful. I care enough about you. And then you go, man, this guy's not even eating. So that's kind of how we started getting into making peanut butter sandwiches, where there's a box of them. I mean, you know, Prattville was a county school, which means we were the second lowest funded school in the state, county system. So we didn't have a lot of money, so it's fine in a way. You know, I got real good at selling cookie dough and fundraisers and all these different ways, so our guys still could get took care of. But the nutrition that these high school coaches find a way to get to their guys is beyond. Yes, they want to get them strong and fat, but a lot of it is just how they feed their kids.
Well, and it's a testament. It's a testament to guys like you, but that have your DNA, that are wired the way that you are, and you got it honestly from your father in his time and learning and what you saw from him. But the guys that really care, and yes, coaches make a lot of money, and we look at it and we go, oh, well, that guy, he makes this amount of money to coach, whether it's a 10-game regular season, high school, if they make the playoffs, whatever. Wow, what's he doing the rest of the year? But the ones who are the most successful, those are the ones that genuinely care, and they got in it for the right reasons, because they want to make an impact in young people's lives, and they genuinely love to teach. And I heard it from a coach who's been successful at the college level. You know him, and we've done broadcasts with him. And what he said, it was Rick Rhodes, and he said, it's like a drug for a coach. He said that's the best way I could describe it. When you see the light bulb go off in that player's head, and it's that aha moment. Yeah. He said, if you could bottle that, that's why the coaches who are in it for the right reasons do it.
Yeah, I think that's what's neat. I think somebody touched us in athletics that make us want to be part of this. And yeah, you enjoy watching the game, but the people that love it, that really care about it, they've been touched by somebody that made a difference in their life, that probably changed their direction. I mean, my dad passed away a few years ago. I had 60-something-year-old men break down on me. You know how you're greeting people, and they're like, your dad saved my life. Yeah. I mean, you talking about, I'm crying, they're crying. You know, these guys don't do a lot of crying. I mean, but it was really changing a person's circumstance, caring enough about them to not just tell them what they wanted to hear, you know. And I always love to tell the story on Dad. I'm like, you love to be brutally honest. He said, no, it's just honesty. You know, so when you're honest with somebody and you tell them the truth, and I always try and put something else with it, but when you really care enough to tell them the truth and they know you really care and you really love them, I think you can really coach them hard. You can really push them. You can get the right results. And then you win, as I say, you win in life and you win on the field.
Yeah. One thing about doing this show with you during the football season, Coach, and it goes without saying, we've got some outstanding sponsors from Buffalo Rock, and I know Webb Concrete and Building Supplies. That's another fine sponsor, along with Alabama Power, and, of course, along with Smart Bank, Donahue Chevrolet. List goes on and on.
Yeah, these are the folks that we've had all year really just believed in what we were talking about and what we were doing, and really, probably believed in me. And of course, I believed in y'all, and so it was a great marriage, and I've heard nothing but good things about them. But we've been able to talk about them from the heart, and I think folks understand that these guys, all the people that sponsored us, are people that we know and trust, and just appreciate them believing in us this year.
Coach, before we go any further, I want to congratulate you. A big honor. It was a big honor that Landrum Roberts got to voice the honor. Would you like to do the honors on the show of the honor that Coach Bill Clark got recently?
I get the opportunity to voice over the Lifetime Achievement Awards for our great coaches that have served in the high school ranks here in the state of Alabama. And I never know who they're going to honor. It's a very small group every single year. And I get Bill Clark's name as I get sent all of the information, and it was quite special. And then I asked, I said, does Coach Clark know that this is going to happen? I don't want to spoil the surprise. And they said, yes, he absolutely knows. So then I started texting Coach as I was voicing this over, and we were joking back and forth about certain things I was going to add that was not in the script, and he advised me that would not be a good idea. But no, in all seriousness, Coach, congratulations and well-deserved.
Thank you. And that's just a reflection of a lot of great coaches and players, but really proud to be a part of starting the AFCA. What a great job. I mean, scholarships for coaches' kids and recognizing assistant coaches, 7 assistant coaches of the year, 7 head coaches of the years, and then all these awards, that we're given. I say we because I still feel like I'm part of it, the Football Coach Association. 20 years since we started that thing. First meeting was in Prattville. So really proud of that group, Jack Wood and that whole group, what they do.
And we have a great relationship when we talk about some things on the show, and you don't roll off your stats that you have. But even reading through your bio and those accomplishments, I found myself going, wow, didn't know that, didn't know that, didn't know that.
Well, he really was a good coach.
It wasn't just one game in Shreveport that was sponsored by
Against
Radiance
BYU.
Technologies
I
and that
know.
went over BYU. Coach actually, man, he was really impressive throughout his career. But congratulations,
Thank
Coach.
you,
That's
guys.
awesome.
Means a lot.
No,
Appreciate it.
that's outstanding. A minute ago, you were talking about you dropped a line about getting the stadium built in downtown Birmingham, and we do have a little news that that broke right before we came on the air, and it was announced that the Alabama High School Athletic Association that they're going to go into a rotation where 2025 Super 7 is going to be in Birmingham at Protective Stadium. In 26, they're now going to play it on the campus of South Alabama. Then it's going to come back to Birmingham in 2 years. And then the year after that, it'll be back in Mobile. So this is a 4-year rotation between the cities of Birmingham and Mobile. And I'm just going to throw my opinion in here for a second, Coach, and then you can jump in with whatever you feel like. But I think this is doing a huge disservice to the high schools in the state of Alabama because you're asking people in Florence, Alabama, you're asking people in the northeast up towards Chattanooga, potentially to have to drive all the way down to Mobile instead of playing in the central part of the state. You had the stadium built, Coach. You were involved in the design plans where there's multiple locker rooms. That stadium is built for tournament and type of football that we were hosting for the Super 7. Why in the world is it going elsewhere?
Well, I'll leave that to you and others to speculate. I will give the story. When we were playing at Legion Field was so good to me. There were so many great games. I mean, we all grew up seeing games there, but we were struggling. Every one of us were struggling. Now, the Birmingham Quarterback Club treated us so good. It was special. The HSA did a good job with it, but just the money we were spending and how money was taken up was not good. I was the only coach on the Central Board, and we're talking about 05, 06, 07. So I'm going to these championships, and we're all losing money. My first time we went, we played in 04, which was a big disadvantage. I'm not making an excuse, but we didn't spend the night. And so, we're playing Hoover, who stayed, give Rush credit, they stayed in a hotel year-round. Or throughout the season. I mean, as he said, they were getting ready for the playoffs.
Wait, did you say Rush or the team?
Both. So we go play on a Thursday night, and we have not been at the hotel because we really could not afford it.
Sorry, I just
You did. You got off.
Too easy. Sorry.
So
If we never, ever do anything else in this show, that was it. Go ahead. Sorry, Coach.
all right, are we going to have to backtrack here?
No. The tape
it was
is
great.
rolling.
It was
No, we
great.
are good.
So 04,
So they were staying in a hotel,
yeah, they stayed every
and
week.
you just came up.
Yeah, we
You just
came up the day of
Day
because
of
we
the
couldn't
game.
really afford it. There wasn't revenue
Right.
sharing. So there was a lot of
Gotcha.
things we started talking about. The long and short of it was not a great place to play based on our revenue. We were not getting all our money. So Steve Savarese, comes in. I was on the board. I wanted us a football guy. We picked Steve. And, it's like, all right, what can we do? As I'm heading to South Alabama, the change is made to move it to Tuscaloosa and Auburn. Now, I felt bad for Birmingham, but I understood. And, there was a lot of upgrades. Hotels were provided for the teams. They started revenue sharing. So there was a lot of great things that happened. So when I get to UAB in 14, I'm speaking Steve asked me to come speak to some coaches. And I said, we're going to get this game back at least somewhat on a rotation when we build this stadium in Birmingham. Now, that's my, first three things I said. We're going to build a facility. We're going to be great sports medicine. We're going to build this stadium. And people laughed. We were in the dentist's office, if you remember. So Steve said, yeah, when you get the dome, you'll get the game.
Okay.
I said, we're not going to have a dome, and we're going to get it. Now, obviously, it started becoming real talk as we started going and as we started moving. And then it was, hey, you've got this new stadium. We designed this stadium. And, I think I made a mistake. As we were playing, we'd go play Georgia and Tennessee and Florida. These people with all this money, and you got the worst visitor locker room you've ever seen. Like in Georgia, part of your dressing, your taping is outside with a tarp hanging down.
Same with LSU.
Yeah. So, they know what they're doing,
It's a
right?
shoebox.
Where we did it Protective, we built all the rooms, now the home locker room is the best, but everybody's got a really good locker.
Everybody else is outside of the home. It's identical.
Yes,
correct?
and we built it for multiple teams
Right.
specifically for this game. Really, specifically for big, tournament type games, the Super 7. Because I envisioned us getting it every year. We have it our first year, right? tons and tons. Coaches are coming in. Coach, it's great. It's perfect. It's centrally located. We're getting treated great. The quarterback club is great. So we got it in the 3 rotation, which was perfect. Obviously, when I heard Alabama and Auburn was getting out of it, playoff reasons, I assumed we would get it every year. I understand. Hey, don't blame Mobile. I don't for trying to get it. I don't know. I hope we put our best foot forward here, but I am proud that we're getting it 2 years, because I think we're getting it every 3 years. When I say we, because I was part of that.
Well, and listen, whoever runs the Mobile Sports Council or Commission or whatever it is.
Pat Smith.
No, it's not me. I would have done the exact same thing they would have done. But coming from someone that in week 1 of the playoffs, driving from Trussville, Alabama down to Baker High School, which is a rock's throw from where now the state championship is going to be, and then perhaps you're going to have to turn around and do that again because they've now switched the regions up in regards to who you're playing once you get to tournament football in the playoffs. That's a problem, okay? Yeah. I mean, put it in Montgomery. Put it in a centralized place in the state that's got a lot of hotel rooms, but getting off the interstate and then getting to South Alabama, this is a really bad decision. And any of the Birmingham teams making their way down there, or even the northern teams from Huntsville or Florence or Scottsboro, they're going to have a problem.
Well, the sale was so easy. We're in the middle of the state. We got this brand new stadium. We got the quarterback club. So proud that we've got it. Obviously, I don't know what all the things went in. I'm not behind the scenes, but I am excited about Protective getting it at least 2 years now.
Well, and some of the other championships we have, whether it's baseball, whether it's softball for our state championships, as far as the AHSAA, it's in different parts of the state. It's not like Birmingham is hosting everything. For the various sports. I know track and field, I believe, down in the Gulf Shores area that they have maybe the state meet there. I might be mistaken, but and I understand from the Mobile perspective, sure.
Yep.
You've got a beautiful facility there at the University of South Alabama in Mobile. It is the second largest city. I don't know where they in Huntsville are right now in the pecking order, but Birmingham, just with the hotels, the convenience for the teams when they're staying pregame, or maybe it's after the game, the venue that you have with Top Golf and other things in the surrounding area. It seemed like it was an easy fix because the Super 7 that we get at Legacy Arena for basketball, I have not heard an outcry from teams from other parts of the state going, well, we got to get it up north or we got to get it down south. Everyone loves coming to Birmingham.
Things I always say, let's make it a no-brainer. So if I'm the Birmingham folks, it's what it should have been. It should have been a no-brainer. Now, I don't know what happened. Once again, don't blame Mobile. I know a lot of those guys down there and was down there for years at South. So, but anyway, that's kind of how Protective was built. It was a team effort, and that was one of the big selling points. Obviously, we've had the UFL. We've had other games there besides UAB.
And this is not chastising the Alabama High School Athletic Association. I'm like Pat. I'm just curious, and I'm sure you are too. Some of the rationale and some of the factors that went into making that decision.
Sure.
It has been a great program today. A lot of lively conversation as we went down memory lane, and that's kind of what we do in the off season. We'll have some coaches interviews that we will be sprinkling in throughout the off college football season. But this show is here all year round. And Coach, I want to thank our sponsor, Buffalo Rock and Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, Buffalo Rock, has approached us again. We had great numbers in our first run. Buffalo Rock approached about let's keep this going, which really makes me feel good. And, thanks to all our listeners, I've had tons of people really telling us there's not really anything quite like this local-wise, I guess, So we want to keep it good, keep it moving, and obviously I'm always love to hear feedback on what we can do better, but excited about moving into the offseason.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us. This is the Bill Clark Show presented by Buffalo Rock, Dr. Pepper, right here on Jocks 94.5.
This has been the Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper.